Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately titled IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, and we have over 200 of them that are free to you. And so if you go to our website at ipausa.org, up in that top right-hand corner, you'll find our Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify links. And if you be a friend, follow, subscribe to any of those social media channels, magically every Monday morning, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Wendy Ruiz, who is the founding director of PlayMakers Preschool. Wendy's professional experience includes working directly with children ages 6 weeks through 5 years as a program coordinator and curriculum specialist. She trains staff and develops programs in open-ended curriculum, natural play spaces, and infant toddler development, just to name a few. Wendy was previously the director of infant toddler programs for the College of the Canyons Center for ECE, a lab school, for 11 years, and she's currently full-time faculty there. In addition, she's an advocate for play, a member of NAEYC, and she's organized the CDC Week of the Young Child Play Day for over 10 years. And it will have already happened by the time you hear this Porch Play Chat, but it's amazing. So today, Wendy's going to talk to us about how to support college students' application of play, recognizing the benefits of play. And that is a really tall order, because what they see is not what we want them to see, right? What they experience is different than what they're learning.
Absolutely.
And so how do we help them navigate that? Because it can be so challenging for them.
It is challenging, and you don't know where these students are coming from, right? Every student is different. Every student has a different experience. Some are working in a play-based environment. Some are told they're working in a play-based environment. Mm-hmm. So that's quite interesting. So many of them believe that they are already working in there until they see the other side, right? So in our practicum experience, we have a select few schools that we allow our students to do their practicum in. Mm-hmm. We are a little bit different, and they can't do it in their workspace. Mm-hmm. They have to do it in one of the assigned spaces, and that we get that how challenging that is for college students to have to adjust their work schedule and everything, and with their family and all of that. But we also see the benefits of it on the other end, because this is could be the only opportunity some of these students are going to get a true play-based practicum experience. Mm-hmm. And so I've noticed this trend that they, in the beginning of the semester, they're very kind of like, not standoffish, but out of their comfort zone for sure. So they think that sorry, my dogs are barking in the background.
Oh, that's okay.
They think that what they're doing is play. And when they go to their first practicum day, and they kind of think, oh, this is just kind of weird. This is just different. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but this isn't the real world. This isn't how schools really do things, which is kind of funny because these schools have been doing it. And then they come to class and we talk about it. And I do tell them, like, do everything you can to have an open mind. Go into this with accepting what you're seeing, and know that it's just going to be out of your comfort zone, and that's okay. That's what these classes are for, right? Is to
be out of their comfort zone. Learn, right?
Absolutely. Learn. And I also strongly encourage them, when they do sign up, when they pick the age group, I really encourage them to pick an age group that they're not currently working with. Mm-hmm. So if they're used to doing preschool, I encourage them to do infants. If they're used to infants, I'll tell them to do kindergarten, because we have a kindergarten option too, or an after school program, or a preschool. Mm-hmm. And because this is their chance, right? A lot of times what teachers do is they get into this role of a preschool teacher, say, and they think that they love 3-year-olds, which is great. They might, but they don't know until they try the other ages. Right. And in practicum, that's your chance to try it, because you can't get fired from practicum. So try it, and if it doesn't work, then you know, and it's only going to be 16 weeks, and then you go back to your age group, right? So, so often I get a lot of students who get their eyes open to a whole new experience, which is wonderful. I love when they seeing a preschool teacher realize that infants is just as amazing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then you throw in the play option, or the best part, oh my gosh, when they see when the children are allowed to take their shoes off.
Oh, please.
And climb up the slide. Those are the two things that students come back to me every time. And I always warn them. I'm just going to warn you. The children are in these spaces are allowed to take their shoes off. They're allowed to climb up the slide. They you know, like, oh my gosh, like, no, they can't take their shoes off. And no, we can't, like, just embrace it. It's okay. You can keep your shoes on. Just embrace it, you know? And so in the beginning, it's a little sketchy, but then by like week 3, they come to me and they start noticing these things. And they say like, wow, now I'm kind of noticing some red flags where I work, that maybe what I'm doing isn't quite as play-based as they said it was. Or maybe we're not as open to their ideas and their learning as we say they are. I had one student who, she said, I was watching the lead teacher, the practicum teacher, helping these 2 children. They were dealing with some conflict resolution. And the teacher actually said to them, well, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas of how we should handle this? And the student was just
flabbergasted.
So she said, I'm going to try that. So she went to her work and she tried this, and she went to the children and she said, the learners, and she said, okay, well, how do you think we should handle it? And the children looked at her and said, why are you asking? And the other teacher said, why are you asking them? And she said, and she couldn't believe it, but the children figured it out. Yeah. And they solved it. And it was amazing. And she was like, I never knew that the children could figure it out on their own and solve it on their own. So it was like those little light bulb moments that they get. And as hard as it is, sometimes I feel really bad, because by the end of the semester, I usually get 2 or 3 students who have either decided to leave the program that they're working in, or try to make some big changes in the program that they're working in, which is wonderful.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's hard though. It's not always possible, right? Especially in some of these programs that are more corporately designed.
Right. Because they have a particular curriculum and a particular policy and procedure.
Right.
Well, and I think you're really fortunate, and your students are really fortunate, that you have 4 sites that are true play. Because, you know, I agree with you. I think some people think they're doing play when what they're doing might be playing with a purpose, or playing to learn instead of playing, right?
Authentically playing,
where children are choosing where to go, how long to stay there, who to play with, and when to move to another area. And that, I think, goes back, why it seems so alien to them is I don't think they experienced that when they were growing up, because the population of college students that we're getting now are No Child Left Behind victims, right? So they were told where to go, what to do, how long to stay there, and when to move on for a long time, most of their school. And so maybe they have never had the experience, that freedom or agency to be able to do that, and they wait for someone to tell them what they're going to do next. So I love that you know, sometimes I think they think it's crunchy granola, right? Oh, just really off base, and this is, you know, woo-woo stuff.
It is woo-woo. It is. They in the beginning they think like, well, what are they doing all day? Like when I tell them, okay, we're going to implement curriculum, we're going to, you know, now's your chance to, you're going to, and I say, and don't look on Pinterest. No. These schools don't use Pinterest. These schools use open-ended, loose parts, less is more philosophy. So just observe. So the students spend the first 3 weeks observing the classroom, and then they start planning curriculum based off their interests and all that. And they're like, and I said, there's no box. You're not going to pull a curriculum idea out of a box. Like, this is out of your own idea and out of their ideas. And sometimes usually they're blown away that the children actually have fun and actually learn at the same time. And it just takes It takes them a bit. I wish we had longer. I wish they could do more hours, because they do 6 hours a week for 16 weeks, or 12 weeks, actually, 12 weeks. And by the end, they're always wishing that they could do longer, because that's just after, 12 weeks is when they're really starting to
Right. When they've got it, right?
understand it. Yeah, it's starting to click.
Understanding it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when they see that, they're finally starting to be to be comfortable with them shaking their shoes off and climbing up that slide and allowing the learners to problem solve, and seeing that it's okay to sit back. Because in the beginning, they're like, all I'm doing is observing. I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like, no, that's exactly what you should be doing. I said, and it's going to look like the same thing. The teachers, it looks like they're not doing anything, but they're doing more. It takes a lot to observe, to really authentically observe the children and learn from the children in their space. And so I said, just sit back. That's what your job is. Your job is to sit back. And doesn't mean you shouldn't engage. If the learners come up to you and pull you in, absolutely. We're not hijacking their play, but if they pull you in, 100%.
Been invited, and you need to participate.
You do need to be invited. Yes.
Yes. Instead of saying, "Can I play with you?" No, please don't say.
Yeah, trust me, they're going to invite you.
They will invite you. You're the best way in the
room. If they see you're interested, if they see that you're like engaged and observing them and listening to them, especially once they hear that you actually care what they have to say, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing, right? But it doesn't happen.
And I want us to think about what that does for children, right? They say, oh, so it's not just the adult directing me. I can engage an adult in my play, and I can give them a role. I mean, everything that we know about the way children learn or the way children develop. So I'm even trying to get rid of that learn thing, because I think it's forcing people to think, well, they have to play to learn, instead of they are learners. Absolutely. But it's our job to pick up on their interests and to follow their interests and to extend their interests if there's an opportunity or they're asking a question. I wonder where we could find that. Do we have a book? I wonder, let me see. Let's go look through the books and see if I could read a book to you and see if that would answer your question, right? Those interactions with children build their agency. Oh my goodness. I can learn about the resources in the classroom to answer my questions.
Yeah.
And I have this wonderful, engaging adult who will help me by reading the book.
Support me.
That learn to read. So I think when teachers see the power of that child initiated play, which I don't think they may have ever seen before.
Right. It's scary at first.
It is.
Because I tell them it's not about having control, which that's where a lot of teachers feel that they need to have that, right? I need to be in control of my space. I need to be in control of my environment. it has to be clean, and it has to be this, and children have to be doing this and this and this all the time. Because if they're not always moving, if they're not always active, then something's going to happen, and then I'm going to lose control.
Yes.
And it's about, and I try to help them see that it's about giving the control to them. That we're there to keep them safe, of course. Safety is utmost. I'm not saying let them climb on top of the roof of the building, but give them control and understanding their own abilities and their own safe risks and their own, and it's hard. It's hard for us. I had a student not too long ago a college student say, I thought everything was really good, and then I realized after all this that I feel like I'm getting my children ready for prison.
Oh,
she's like they have to walk in a straight line. They have to follow these guidelines. They go to the bathroom when we say they can go to the bathroom. Like it's like they have no say over their day. And I didn't realize just how much control I was having over their day. And so she's like, I'm trying to let go of it, but it's hard, right? It's hard to trust the children. It's hard to trust that they know what's best for themselves, and they're going to make mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah, of course, they're children,
right?
Because I do think that control piece, and that having people judge them and not thinking that they're doing what they should be doing is a big pressure. I understand that, and I can hear that concern with them. And oh, if I just let them do what they're interested in doing, the classroom will be chaotic and
Chaos.
I'll lose control and blah, blah, blah. So after they've been in a classroom that is child initiated play, what do they say about the behavioral challenges or the mistakes that children may be making?
Yeah,
Do they see a decrease or an increase when children are allowed to just,
definitely a decrease. They
yes,
see children are happier. That's quotes from them, that children seem happier, they seem less stressed, that there are challenges, but that they're solved within them, the children. So that's less stressful. And that the teachers don't have to worry so much about every minute of the day, that
yes,
they can really just kind of let go a little bit. But
and be present, right?
right,
I think when we're so focused on, oh, well, the clock says it's this time and we have to be doing
right,
this now according to the schedule, forget the clock, forget the times on the daily routine.
right,
Yes, they need
right.
a consistent routine, but
Absolutely.
your focus on
Yes.
an inanimate object of the clock should not be driving the day. I mean, now the cook drives the day. When snack appears, when lunch appears,
Yes.
when your time on the playground appears, right?
Yes.
Those are things that you need to work around, right? But
Right.
the rest of it, come on, just relax.
Yeah.
Um, and enjoy children because oh my goodness, they're so much fun.
And I think there's like kind of like a ideal time for teachers where we know, like, Lillian Katz's stages of teaching, right? The first year or so, they're nervous and they're afraid to make mistakes. And so this is the time when, if they are in this environment, they do need to feel they have control, right? They need to feel I think they spend most of their time cleaning because that's what they know.
Mhm.
And then if you get them like the second or third year, they tend to be a little bit more open to ideas. They tend to be a little bit more, okay, like I can let go of following all the copying everybody, other teachers, and now I can kind of use my own ideas and start to bring in, like, okay, I am comfortable with letting them play more, or having a little bit more control.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Freedom.
There you go. But then I feel if you wait too long into their career, then they get to the point of kind of no return, where this is all I know. This is how I was raised. This is how and so I
This
was
is what
like,
I've always done, right?
yeah. So in our college classes, I feel like we have to teach to all of those levels.
Mhm.
And it's hard because you get that. I always get that one that's like raises their hand and like, no, if they take their shoes off, then, I love, my favorite one is, well, licensing says they can't take their shoes off.
Yeah.
Show me where licensing, because California licensing does not say anywhere that they can't take their shoes off, or licensing says that they can't, I don't know, they come up with these rules, right? And so it's hard to, I don't want to knock down, because they've years and years of experience. I want to
Right.
honor their years of experience. And also support those that have zero experience, and find a way to, you have to find a way to help them. I almost like come to the dark side.
Yeah, please come over.
Come on over, like
Come on over.
just try it. But it's always the two things. It's always the shoes and the going up the slide. That's the two things that get them every time.
So, and that's so hysterical. So one of the things I think, I always go back to Ben Boz, who, we all loved.
Yes.
And I go back and I say to even my practicum students, just try one thing that we've been talking about, just one thing,
Just one.
and try it for 2 or 3 weeks and see what happens. And they'll come back to me and say, okay, that worked. And I'll say, okay, what else would you like to try? And they'll say, well, I think
Yeah.
I want to try this. And I'll say, okay, go try that for 2 or 3
Right.
weeks. Just one thing
Just one thing.
for 2 or 3 weeks. And then come back and let's talk about it. And then, okay, that worked. Okay, great. So what else would you like to try?
Right.
So it's not like you have to do the whole thing.
Right. Don't do it all.
No.
And that's why with my practicum, we have this grid. It's red, yellow, green light. So the first 2 weeks they're on red light. So they literally are just sitting back and observing. They're, even though they have all the experience in the world, I still do not want them engaging yet. I just want them to truly take in the space, get to know the learners, get to know the teachers, so they're on a red light. Then they go to yellow light, where that's for 3 weeks, where they can then ease in, and if they see a teacher setting up a table, then they'll help set the table up. Or if the teacher is making Play-Doh, they'll help make Play-Doh. So now they're kind of easing in and assisting and kind of joining the team a little bit more. And then after the 3rd week, after that three yellow days, then they get green light and it's all go. And they just go, and they implement curriculum and they get more engaged. And I do allow students to have a little bit of leeway. If they only want 2 weeks of yellow and they want to jump into green sooner, great. But I don't let them get out of the red because in the beginning, because they need that. And a lot of students come up and they say, oh, but I've been doing this for years. I'm like, you have, but you haven't been doing it in this space. Or even if you have been doing it in this space, how often do you get to just sit back and truly observe? Even in your own classroom, you never get to do that. You're so right. I mean, you get to observe, but not from like the whole perspective. And so I say, I'm giving you a gift right now. Take this gift and
enjoy this gift.
Enjoy it. Right. You have no responsibilities. You're not counting into ratio. You're just enjoy the process. And so ever since I've done that, like red light, green light, it kind of helps them to have a little bit more.
Oh, I think it's a great idea. Well, the other big piece is they don't have to feel like they have to do something because they're there. Right. They're able to just sit back and see how the classroom runs and operates, and who the children are, and what the children might be interested in, so that when they have the yellow light, they can begin to slowly engage, but not
their comfort. And they're like, and it's funny because so they do an observation every week where they write kind of just what did they observe in the environment? What's an interaction they observed, a behavior, a curriculum. And in the beginning, they're like, well, they were just playing. So I had nothing, I didn't know what to write. There was nothing to write.
Like, it's kind of like the people who go into an infant room. This is boring.
Right. There's nothing,
and
nothing
I'm
to
like,
write.
oh my God, there's so much happening.
Like, there's so much to see. Like, there's so much. I said, look at their, so it's funny that in the beginning, they're like, they turn in their papers and they have nothing. They're like, I didn't observe anything. I'm like, but did the children just sit in the middle and twiddle their thumbs? Like, I know you observed something. I know children talk to each other. I know there was curriculum on the tables. Like, but it was just play. And I'm like, no,
that's what that
was everything.
I love it.
That was everything. I'm like, so it's helping them to like, it's changing perspective, which is hard, and depending on the stage they're in, it's hard to change that perspective that it's just play. And it's it's their work.
So I think this is a great model for other college educators to think about. I know all of us have field experiences and all of us have student teaching and all of us have, but I think it's what you've been able to do is find programs who are authentically playful.
Yes.
And I think that is the challenge that all of us face.
We're really supportive. We're really lucky that the college allows us to pick those schools, that we get to pick them and then build contracts with them. So we have MOUs with those colleges or those centers. That they trust us to choose what we believe is best practice.
That I think that is
so hard. And we're lucky that we have that many, right? Like you said, and like one of them has a private kindergarten, so they get to do practical in kindergarten, which is very rare. And then we have as young as 6 weeks, so they can do young infants, and then we have after school program too. So it meets kind of everybody's needs, and it meets all their schedules. Because a lot of students, of course, they can only do after school. Right. That's great. And that works for you. Or they need to do, an all day. Well, infants don't really sleep, like, so you can go all day in there and get something out of the whole
day. Because there's always somebody should always
there's always someone awake, right? So, so it's neat for them to see. I really love when they get to see play in the kindergarten classroom, because that is even more rare, right? If we think it's rare in preschool, it's even more rare in kindergarten to see how. I mean, this kindergarten, they don't do any worksheets. They don't do any, it's all project-based, learner-led.
Centers.
Yeah, centers. They do use creative curriculum. But they do it in a very natural, open-ended. They did a project recently, grocery store.
Oh.
And it was amazing. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. The children built a grocery store in their classroom. And they brought in, one of the parents was a manager of a grocery store. So he came in and he brought them baskets and aprons and name tags. And they each decided what role they had in the grocery store. So it was amazing. And so they each, like, one was the florist, one was the produce person. And then we took them on a field trip to the grocery store and they interviewed the person in that role and asked them, like, how much money do you make and how many hours do you work and what school did you need? And then they came back and they set up a mock grocery store and the parents each got $4 and they came shopping. And so when they got to their aisle, they had to tell them, like, present what they learned. And they each sold something. So the produce sold strawberries, real strawberries. We had a Starbucks because every grocery store has Starbucks now.
Of course.
So Starbucks made hot chocolate and served hot chocolate. And so everyone sold something. And then come on, it was everything. They had to pay $4. So then they had to go to the cash register and give them change. And it was so cool. Even when they did the field trip at the grocery store, they each had $4 and they got to buy something and they went to the checkout and they put the money in the machine. It was so much learning involved, right? And not one worksheet and they learned math and science and language and so much. And it was just amazing. And so it was neat for students to see, wow, they can learn
what projects really look like, right?
Yes.
What the project approach
Yes.
really looks like when you're deeply embedded in
and the parents got to see it and that's really hard in project-based, is having the parents see the learning because they're not going home with worksheets or they don't have homework packets, Right. And so for the parents to come and see, one mom was in tears. She just could not believe how much her son had learned and grown it'd been like 8 weeks and she was blown away. And she was like, I had no idea this is what he needed, Like, just give them their space and they have so much to learn, it was
so
neat.
much.
I know we're not topic,
but they will if you give them the space and the time.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been amazing. Stay right there while I close this out. To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, please listen to everything Wendy just said and try to replicate. Until next time, keep on playing.